Hello everyone, in this video I want to talk about the batteries in both the controllers of the Xbox Series X and the DualSense for the PlayStation 5. And we can see here, again, this is not official, but based on Galaxy Rain 666 on Twitter, it shared that the battery capacity of the PlayStation 5 controller is fixed in 60 mAh, as you can see here. Now, considering the fact that the DualShock 4 controller had 1000 mAh, this one is actually much stronger. Although we need to keep in mind the fact that the controller has more advanced features, which require probably more power, so it doesn't mean that we're going to get better battery life. But it's something that we need to wait and see. Now here we are talking in case of the DualSense controller, we are dealing with a non-removable battery. This means that you won't be able to put AA batteries inside. Whether on the Xbox Series X controller, the official controller that comes with the Xbox Series X, will support AA batteries. Now, important thing here to note that with the Xbox Series X controller, you'll be able to use rechargeable batteries, rechargeable AA batteries. It doesn't mean that it supports AA batteries that we need to buy batteries we cannot recharge. Again, something to keep in mind. Now, there are several advantages of having AA batteries like the one that the Xbox Series X controller offers, is that you can, for example, if you're out of power, you can always have more batteries and they are very cheap. So you can always replace and continue playing rather than needing to charge the controller again or have it connected to the console until it's actually charged so you can actually disconnect it. And we're talking about a wireless controller here. Both are wireless. Another thing is, of course, that you can use rechargeable batteries, as I mentioned, and you can use with different capacities. You can use one which actually have high capacities, so it can prolong the use of the controller. Depends on what power each battery has. And of course, we can't forget the fact that if in case the battery of the DualSense controller kind of losing power over time, it doesn't maintain its full capacity. It's kind of degrades over time and eventually die. Die completely, but after quite a few years, you're going to see that the controller can hold power for a long time. So we get kind of a shorter time to actually play with the controller. And the problem is that you can't actually replace the battery. Whether with a removable batteries option like the Xbox Series X controller, you won't have this problem. And just in case you have an issue with the battery, you can always replace it with another one. So for example, I took a look at Amazon and read some recommendation. In Amazon Choice, there's a Panasonic K/KJ17KHCA4A. This is a charger that comes with 4 AA Analoop Pro high capacity batteries. It's very recommended, again, very powerful. And again, if something happens, you can always replace the batteries and buy new ones, right, if you like. However, if you're going to think the opposite, what happens when your controller controls batteries, the DualSense controller loses power? Well, you need to replace the controller, right? You're going to buy something new. And this, of course, should cost much more compared to just replacing a battery. And I can tell you from my experience, because I play on the PlayStation 4 and I didn't replace my controller often, I just put once because it dropped into the water. But before that happened, it actually lasts quite a long time, but I think like 2 years down the line, I definitely felt that it's kind of lacking. And I just needed to sometimes just needed to put a cable in order to play continuously for quite a long time. And actually I remember just doing that because I didn't want to count on the controller just failing on me, and I just play with the cable all the time since that point where the battery wasn't that good. Now you need to understand that in terms of the hardware manufacturer, in this case, for example, Microsoft, Sony, having a non-removable battery allows the company to create kind of a more tighter design, because they don't need to have a backplate, and it's kind of a compromise in a way. So if you're able to create a controller with a non-removable battery, you'll probably be able to create a controller which is better fit to the vision that you had for a controller in terms of design, look, and ergonomics. Now, as you know, the Xbox controller was the more comfortable among the two. Comparing the Xbox One controller versus the DualShock 4 controller. So again, I don't know what how the manufacturer are doing and their exact decisions, but definitely I put the Xbox controller to be the more comfortable one among the two. And by the way, I know this is true to phones, but maybe this can happen on controllers as well. Sometimes, for example, when a phone is stuck, sometimes you remove the battery, you reset the phone, you kind of shut it down, and when you put the battery back, and it can solve some issues, electronic issues. I don't know about more advanced controllers. I mean, if you look at the DualSense controller, it's very advanced controller. Maybe there are going to be some issues, whether, for example, if you need to kind of shut it down in terms of power, you won't be able to quickly do so compared to remove batteries. You need to wait until the power is completely repleted. But again, I'm not sure about this. But I think the more advanced controllers become, maybe this might be an issue. Maybe. Now, the other thing I know, and again, this is not directly related, but I've seen how Sony make batteries for digital cameras, and they've kind of smart batteries, so they can embed even kind of a little CPU, something like that can talk with the controller in the battery itself. So maybe in terms of power management, they can create something customized with the battery because it's embedded and it's non-removable, compared to if they need to create something for that for a removable battery, AA batteries. So maybe on that aspect, and again, I've seen this on digital cameras, this might work for controllers as well. So they can create their own smart power management because they embedded kind of a smart battery. But I don't know if that battery kind of have this type of technology. I don't know about that, but just mentioning that. Now, another thing is that with removable batteries, that, well, when you need to remove batteries, you need to take something out, right? So there might be even a plastic that you need to remove, but it will be a plastic that you need to remove, and you need to take the batteries out. And this part can, well, it can break. It kind of makes the controller more fragile in a way. Now, I don't think it will be a big issue, but another thing to keep in mind, because there's kind of part which you need to detach, whether with a controller which is kind of completely sealed. And talking about sealing, by the way, this might even prevent dust or other things getting inside, maybe some vapor like liquid and stuff. Maybe it's more protected in this way, I don't know. But of course, these are not waterproof, water resistant controllers from what I know. Anyway, the thing is that you're going to have a part which you can actually need to remove on the Xbox Series X controller to put the batteries in, and this just makes it a bit more fragile in my opinion. Now, I don't know about warranty when it comes to controllers. This is something to look up for. I mean, to see whether if you, for example, got a controller with maybe a malfunction battery, or if the battery kind of failed you like after some month, whether you can just return it and get something instead. Whether, of course, with the Xbox Series X controller, you won't have to worry about that, right? Even if you got bad batteries, you can replace them, but you can always use other batteries, right? You don't have this issue. You don't need to go to a place, show your warranties and stuff. You're just dealing with simple AA batteries. Now, the other thing is that, well, you're probably not going to do this anytime soon, but when you sell the console, for example, or even rent it, right? Or whatever business you want to do with the console, with the Xbox Series S controller, you won't have the problem selling it with maybe kind of a degraded battery performance, right? Because people can always buy their own batteries and just give them the controller. Whether with the DualSense controller, if the battery is not good, well, if you sell it, you can reduce the price. So the value of the controller will probably will be worth less. Depends on the battery life. Now, a note regarding battery life for non-removable batteries, non-removable battery supported controllers. I've read on Click Press Play about the average lifespan of a PlayStation 4 controller. And then it said, and I quote, provided you take care of your controllers and aren't playing games for obscene amount of time, which I do, you should easily get 3 to 4 years out of your controller, if not more. Well, of course, it depends on how much you play. Again, we need to keep this in mind, right? If you just want to play 2 times a week, well, you don't need to worry about that at all. Whether if you're going to play like games like, I don't know, at least 4 or 5 hours a day, maybe 4 or 5 times a week, if not more, well, it's going to be less, probably much less. Again, it all depends on how much you play, right? So it's differ between one player to another. Now, another thing that I want to mention, and I haven't read any information about it, is related to fast charging. Now, if you're going to use, I don't know if, for example, you're going to use, for example, if you use removable batteries, you might have a charger that supports fast charging for particular batteries, right? But if you use a controller with a non-removable battery, maybe there should be kind of a technology that allows for fast charging, but I don't know if the PlayStation 5 controller will actually support fast charging. But if not, this means that even with the Xbox Series X, we're going to have a controller, we're going to have a big advantage, because either you're going to have a charger that can charge our batteries faster with fast charging, or you'll be able to just carry more batteries. So whatever happens, if you pay a lot, well, it's going to be easier for you to just replace the battery. The thing is that when the controller, controllers with non-removable batteries should allow you to play easily all day long without any issues. Now, I did check some information about the PlayStation 4 controller. We might expect something a bit similar. So on Quora, it says it takes approximately 2 hours to charge the controller. Again, we're talking about the DualShock 4 controller, yeah? When the battery has no remaining charge, right? So we need to charge it, right, in order to play it. Whether even you have AAA batteries, you either have several batteries, just pop them up. The question is, how much you can actually play straight, right? That's the big question. So on Digital Trends, it said typically, digitaltrends.com, it says typically the DualShock 4 lasts for 4 to 8 hours of play per charge, typically on the lower end of the range. All right, so well, it should last you for quite a lot, but again, some people play a lot, right? So either you're gonna, and I know that people, if they know that the battery won't last for 8, maybe 10 hours, we're gonna stream or gonna play, gonna do whatever they like to do, but they're gonna play a lot, they're probably gonna own a second controller. And of course, a second controller will cost you much more compared to if you just need to pop the batteries in, the AA batteries, like with the Xbox Series X, and just continue playing. This is a much cheaper solution. But of course, it depends on your budget, right? So if you don't have problem just even buying 3 or 4 controllers because it's nothing for you, well, you can do it. But the thing is, I think the majority of people are searching for a cost-effective solution. Well, the Xbox Series X controller seems to be a better choice. But the thing is that if you go with one console or the other, I don't know if the controller itself should be kind of given such a big weight, right? It's all about the games, not just about the controller, although I have to admit that PlayStation 5 DualSense controller looks very tempting. Now, if you look at the battery side, I think that most points easily goes to the Xbox Series X controller easily, although there might be things that we don't know yet, right? We need to wait a bit. Maybe you're going to see some really performance. We need to benchmark the performance of both controllers. Then, of course, people will do when both controllers are out officially. Even now, we know people get kind of pre-production ones. So really need to wait to see kind of when the consoles are released to see whether there are some really nice surprises for one controller that we didn't know. And of course, it's not just about the battery, right? It's all about the immersion using the controller, how comfortable it is. And this is personal, but of course, there are things that you can easily compare between the two, and you can say this one is better than the other. So these are a few points to think about. If you know anything else, please let me know in the comment section below, and you can discuss it there. I personally really want to know how important this is for you. I mean, if you really consider buying another console because of the controller, I'm not saying anything. Maybe yes, and it will be fine. Maybe not. And how important is actually having a non-removable batteries compared to removable ones in your controller. So tell me this in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, everyone, and consider subscribing and giving a like if you enjoyed. More coming. Stay tuned. Cheers.